Welcome to a large model Showman's engine, part 88. Fitting the cylinder cover to the cylinder block, followed by the ornamental outer cover, plus showing the problem with the brass canopy support and making a template using a piece of cardboard as a pattern for a mounting bracket. Here's a shot of the end of the cylinder, and it's time to fit the gasket. When I made this gasket, I was very careful to copy the shape of the cylinder cover perfectly. As you can see from this clip, it's a really good fit on the studs. All I need to do now is fit the cylinder cover. Being very careful not to drop any nuts or washers on the floor, because as the floor of the garage is the same as the drive, it's gravel, and if I drop any nuts and washers into the gravel, I probably will never find them again. Here's a close-up of the first washer and nut on one of the studs. All of the studs are just about the same length as each other, so I shouldn't have a problem with anything fouling the outer cover. The thickness of the phosphor bronze support block in the centre is more or less the same size as the studs, maybe a little bit deeper to allow for expansion. If you look closely at this image, you will notice that the cylinder cover and gasket stick out slightly further than the flat front of the cylinder. That's because the casting is shaped at this point, and it will give the impression that the ornamental cylinder cover doesn't fit fully flat to the cylinder, which it actually doesn't. But it's such a tiny amount, it really doesn't matter. But I'm sure some experts will tell me that, I should have done this and I should have done this, that and the other. But no, here I am fitting the cylinder cover, and that is it. In this clip, on the front of the cylinder cover, you can see some water. I don't know where this came from. It wasn't me sweating, and I don't remember spilling any water on it, but anyway, there's a little bit of water on the front cylinder cover. But it won't rust, because I painted this in the previous episode. A couple of the studs are slightly shorter. I only noticed this when I tightened the nuts back in place. And to be honest, it really doesn't matter. I like the look of the new ornamental cylinder cover, and here it is in place. All that's left to do is to fit the washer, complete with the silicone O-ring, and secure everything in place with the special phosphor bronze bolt that I made. This is threaded with a very fine thread, 1/4 by 40 threads per inch. And theoretically, with the O-ring in place, it shouldn't leak, but if it does, I'll use some Loctite 542 on the threads. Time now to very carefully tighten up the bolt. And not unsurprisingly, I am using my Barco spanner for this. And for the anti-adjustable spanner brigade, I would just like to say that this Barco spanner never rounds the edges of nuts or bolts. Barco spanners are generally very good and very well made, which is more than can be said for some other brands of adjustable spanner, particularly the one I have on my keyring, which came out of a Christmas cracker. Here's a finished job, and I quite like it. The stainless steel cylinder cover just adds a touch of quality, and as per the full size, it gives the engine more of a Showman's engine look. Because of the thickness of the outer cover, which believe me is not thick at all, this outer canopy support can't be bolted back in place. I'm going to have to do something about this. The answer is simple. I just make a bracket. The bracket will bolt through into the canopy support and also attach to the cylinder block using a very small bolt. Here are a few shots from different angles, and I like the look of this. I never did like the look of the original front cylinder cover. Here it is from the other side. I noticed that the paintwork on the chimney is a bit rough. I've never noticed this before because it's under the canopy. Maybe I'll sort this out in a future episode, but I won't be doing this for a while. I need to run the engine, check the lubricator, make sure the injector works. I live in hopes. And if it doesn't work this time, I'm going to fit John Holroyd's injector to this engine. The problem with the existing injector, and I even bought another one, it's a Jubilee Fittings injector. There's nothing wrong with it, except it's a number 8, and it's a bit big for this boiler. And it pumps quite a lot of water into the steam space, very close to where the steam takeoff is for the injector, so it's a problem. If you want to know what I've done to this so far, please watch some more episodes of this series. The injector that John Holroyd of the Steam Workshop made for me is a number 6, so I think that will be okay. But I'm going to try the number 8 injector one final time before I change it. I'm now going to make a cardboard template to get the hole spacings. I'm using a deep hole marker and a piece of cardboard. Before I go back down to where the traction engine is, I thought I would look for some suitable bolts to fit the bracket to the cylinder and the brass stanchion. Here is a box of bolts. Some of them are quarter BSF and some of them are metric. And the thing in the middle with the cloth on it is not a bolt. It's a very small deck chair taken from the large model Waverley paddle steamer that I used to have. The bolts that I need for this job need to be quarter BSF. And as we all know, well at least we know now because it says it on the die, a quarter BSF bolt is 26 threads per inch. This die is set up in one of my die holders and it's set up to cut a very accurate quarter BSF thread. It's closed to just the right amount. And here I'm screwing into the die a quarter BSF bolt and it's a perfect fit. I'll put that on one side for when I make the bracket. A quarter BSF thread and an M6 thread are not dissimilar until you screw an M6 bolt into this die. And as you can see, M6 bolts are just a rattle fit. Just to recap, this is a quarter BSF bolt and it's a really good fit in this die. It's not tight, it's not slack, it's perfect. Just like some girlfriends, boyfriends or gender neutral people that I knew when I was younger. When I revisited where the traction engine is, I took with me this caliper, a piece of cardboard and a felt tip pen. And this allowed an accurate measurement between the hole in the brass stanchion and the hole in the cylinder. And here are the 2 marks on the piece of cardboard which I will use as a template to cut out the proper bracket and then fit it in a future episode. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, thanks for watching and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my main Steam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.